is not just a show. This is a shift. A reset of how men think, how men heal, and how men lead. Before behavior, there is belief. Before legacy, there is mindset. And before change reaches generations, it must first reach the mind. This is bridging generations. Yeah. We were raised on survival, not reflection. Taught strength, but not emotional protection. Passed down rules, never passed down tools. So we repeated cycles, thinking pain was the fuel. Different decades, same mental wars. Men grinding hard, but still unsure. We inherited limits, disguised as truth, and called them manhood. Handed down to the youth. But growth don't start with doing more. It starts with thinking different than before. What if failure was feedback, not shame? What if growth was learned, not fate or name? We don't stay fixed in who we've been. We expand the mind and life begins. Belief is the seed, mindset the soil. Growth is the reward of intentional toil. This is bridging generations. Voices of men where the mind gets renewed and healing begins. We don't pass down fear, we pass down plans. Blueprints for growth, hand to hand. From presence to purpose, from pain to design. We build better futures with a growth mindset. They told us that's just how men are, but we questioned the ceiling, raised the bar. We learned growth is a discipline, not a phase. A daily decision in how we're raised. Old men teaching lessons from scars. They survive, young men, bringing vision. Asking why different perspectives, same destination. Healing the man, heals the generation. The growth mindset blueprint gave language to pain. Turned I can into I can learn again. No longer stuck in past definitions. We design men with intention. Growth is intentional. Mindset is foundational. Healing is learned. Legacy is built. Presence over pride, process over ego, blueprints, not excuses. This is how men grow. This is bridging generations, no fixed identity. We evolve, adapt, grow intentionally. We don't repeat cycles, we redesign systems. From the mind to the home, to the way that we lead them. The same motivation, it's transformation. Voices aligned through growth across generations. Growth is not accidental. Mindset is the real inheritance. And when men grow, families heal, communities rise, generations change.
All right, good evening, and welcome to Bridging Generation, Voices of Men. I am Dr. Laxley. Dr. Juan, how are you?
Man, I'm doing well. Good evening. It feels so good to be back on the spot. Seeing my face, talking. What's going on, Doc?
Man, I just love how you say it. It feels so good to be back on the spot. You know, you belong here, man. You're one of the originator of this program, and I can't think of a better person to be on here with. You know, a lot is going on, Dr. Juan. A lot is going on, man. You see what is happening in our world, right?
Yes.
It's no small stuff. All type of disturbances, right?
Yes.
And things that you and I, we have no control over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
We must still live in this world, right? Even
Yes.
though it's our world to live in. And yeah, all kinds of stuff going on. What's going on with you?
Man, what isn't? You know, it's a couple of things, actually, a couple of great things. You know, I'm at the I would say towards the end of finishing up my memoirs. This has been a journey. It's been a great interesting journey, but definitely a journey worth walking down. And so definitely put a lot of time in getting that finished. A couple of projects, we're developing some leadership manuals and lessons. So just I put myself out there, stepped out there. So I'm building, working, writing. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and it's all about your story, right? All about your life.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And that's what I like about it, because we must learn how to live a story that is worth telling. And that's what
Yes.
you've done.
Yes. Yes. Tell your story.
Yeah. And I know you will, even when you're finished with this stage, with this past season that you're reporting on, there'll be more to tell in the seasons that you will be encountering. So, for this is
Absolutely.
certainly not the end, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, what you've done so far is just building the foundation for what is to come. And there's no doubt about it that great things, big things are ahead for you.
Yes. I'm excited. So be on the lookout soon and very soon. I get to join all of you greats who have who are authors of several books now, but I'm excited about that.
And there is a certain feeling when you publish your first book. If someone had said to me that you're going to write maybe almost 5 books,
Hmm.
I would say, you crazy. I had no interest in writing. And I must credit Dr. Donna Thompson, or
Yeah.
CFO. I must credit
Yes.
her because she's the one that said to me, this needs to be in a book. You need to put it into a book." Because I had no inclination to do that. That was never my, and I'm talking about A Collision with Purpose in Pursuit of Purpose. And of
Hmm.
course, you're a chapter in that book, a big chapter in that book. Big chapter. So, and for that, again, I appreciate you for all that you have done and for what you will do in the near future.
I appreciate it, Doug. I appreciate the opportunity. Wouldn't have it any other way.
So tonight we have a big conversation. And tonight we're not necessarily talking about the loudest men in the room. It is about the quiet ones.
Yes.
History has shown us something that we rarely want to admit. Societies are rarely destabilized by reckless men alone. Often we believe that it's those men who are making decisions and are making bad decisions. They're not on their own. They are destabilized when disciplined men decide to remain silent.
Mm.
Mhm. When good men withdraw, confusion advances. When capable men disengage, direction disappears, right? And when
Yeah.
experienced men choose comfort over correction, the next generation is left to interpret manhood without guidance.
That's some powerful stuff, especially when you said disciplined men.
Mhm.
Go silent, and so it kind of puts everything, not kind, it does puts everything in perspective that we're not talking about bad men.
No, no, no,
We're
we're
talking
not.
about good men.
Good men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that makes the difference. Like these are, of course, everyday men with morals, leading in their family in different places, but for whatever reason have decided to be silent or neutral in sense.
Yeah. And I like that word neutral. I like that. I like that word. I don't like that they choose to be neutral, but I
Yeah.
like the usage of that word.
Yeah.
You know, Dr. Juan, silence can look like wisdom sometimes, right?
Hmm.
And certainly like restraint.
Hmm.
And we often say it's a sense of maturity. But sometimes silence is something else. Sometimes it's avoidance.
Yes. Yes.
It's avoidance, and maybe avoidance because of fear. But I believe that it is a quiet surrender of responsibility. That's what I believe silence is.
You
It,
know, I'm glad you said that, because to add to that, I think silence is still communication.
It's loud.
Loud, yes.
Loud communication at that.
Yes. You know, a non-response is still a response. I think it's sometimes we forget that. Yeah.
It's like saying, I am not voting. That's silence.
Mm-hmm. It's a decision. It's a choice that, yeah.
It's
Wow.
a classic example. So Dr. Juan, tonight we're asking a hard, but what I believe is a necessary question. And the question is, what is the cost when good men choose not to speak, not to intervene, and not to lead? What is the cost? And now let me say this: silence is never empty, it's always teaching us something.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about when good men go silent. That is our topic tonight. That is what this show is all about tonight. Last week, we talked about men and their responsibility to mentor other men. And tonight, we're having another conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's about when good men go silent. So let's talk about, is silence ever truly neutral?
Very rarely. I think very rarely. And here's why I believe that silence can be interpreted in so many different ways, so it can't be neutral. You know, and when you leave things open or unsaid, you leave so many things up to assumption, to be misread, misinterpreted, you know, misunderstood. So there's no clarity. So I don't think silence is neutral. I think it's very rarely neutral. There's a side, you know. Now we're talking about it. You choose to be silent, you're still choosing a side. So you're not neutral. You're still picking a side.
You are picking a side indeed. And I will submit this. Let me submit this. Many, many men believe that staying quiet keeps them out of trouble. They believe that neutrality protects peace. But I'm going to repeat something that you said, but in a different way. Neutrality is rarely neutral. Neutrality is neutrality neutral, because when you are taking a neutral stance, you're taking a position. It is not neutral.
Yes. Yes.
So when we're all family, leaders of our family, right?
Yes.
And what happens when dysfunction appears in a family, in the workplace, or in our community, and disciplined men remain quiet? And I say disciplined men. Something powerful happens. And it you know what happened? Silence becomes permission. Yeah, it's permission. You know, too often we interpret silence as a form of approval. And that's an assumption, right? So when approval is assumed, all kinds of unhealthy
Yes.
behavior goes
Yes.
from that. So let me hear your thoughts there.
I think a lot happens when, especially when our men are silent in homes, even in workplaces and other places, especially home. Because I think that even though they're silent, they're this is what I've learned, is that a man can be physically present, but still emotionally absent. And so the whole home, whole family and communities, they feel that, you know. And you touched on something, you know, profound, that so much is left open or up to interpretation. So if a man isn't saying anything, he's not providing any clarity, and everything is ambiguous. There's permission to do or believe so many different things, right? It's just wide open.
Why
And
not?
I think it becomes an issue for many, especially children, for identity.
Mm.
I think there's affirmation in a man's voice.
In fact, we look to hear that voice. The absence of that voice, I believe, is in so many ways avoidance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Avoidance, not wanting to make tough decisions or get in challenging conversations. I'd rather be silent.
Yeah.
It's easier. But I will say this: leadership requires the courage to speak up, to say something, to not be silent. You know, there are times when silence is wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
There are times, and you know when it is wisdom. You, the maker, the decision maker, will know when it's wisdom. All right, so I want you close out on that conversation about.
So I think there, you talked about the difference between silence being wisdom, and then sometimes being avoidance. And I think there are times when being silent is more a restraint, right?
Mhm.
But I think avoidance is more reactive.
Mm,
And wisdom says I'm choosing not to speak because it won't be beneficial.
mhm.
It won't help. It won't edify, right? So I'm gonna hold my tongue. But then avoidance, and you touched this earlier. Avoidance is more I'm choosing to be silent because it may cost me something.
Mm,
So it's almost like if I'm choosing to be silent out of wisdom, it's the benefit of all of us, right? Or
mm.
you. But if I avoid it, then there definitely is a cost. But I'm thinking about myself and not others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's self-serving.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
decision is based on I am doing what is best for me and forget everything is in my ecosystem.
Yes.
Yeah. So the question then is, if silence is not always neutral, then the question is, what exactly are men protecting when they choose silence? What are they protecting?
I, you know, sometimes I think if choosing to remain silent out of protection is to protect themselves,
Mhm,
it's almost like to keep from exposure of
mhm,
something.
mhm.
So then that means that, a man is hiding. Because I don't want to put myself out there and get exposed, or draw attention to something. So let me stay silent to protect myself. Again, there's that self aspect.
Big, big stuff there. You know, when men remain silent, it's rarely because they don't have something to say. So we're talking about bright, intelligent,
Yes,
sharp men, right? I believe, and this is my personal belief, and you're saying it, but I'm going to say it a different way. You've said it, but I'm going to say it a different way. I think most of the time they're protecting their reputation,
hmm
their influence, and the relationships they have. And I'm not just talking about relationships in there with a woman, but relationships they have on their jobs, with people, with friends, and so forth. You know, and sometimes it's living in a comfort zone.
yeah, yeah. So so this takes it a little deeper, right? Because that whole living in a comfort zone, covering things up, hiding, if you will, then what's beneath is a little deeper than, what we may be understanding or seeing from a surface level, right? Because they may be protecting or trying to avoid or making a decision to stay silent out of fear of rejection, not knowing how to reach a resolve for a conflict. So they don't want to say anything. They don't want the conflict to escalate. Um, a loss of respect, being wrong, or again, being exposed. I think there's so many things in it as to what be the reason what lies beneath being silent.
Mm. Dr. Juan, it's not always easy to have hard conversations, is it?
No, no,
It's
no.
not. For most of us, it's not easy. And to have hard conversations with your friends, to look them in the eyes with your family members, to look them in the eyes with strangers, to look them in the eyes and tell it like it is. It's not always easy. These hard conversations can create tension, and we know that tension is all about resistance.
Mm,
All about resistance. So, but one thing I know about leadership, it was never designed to be comfortable.
correct.
Never designed to be comfortable. So, if we fear, and you talk about that speaking up will cause conflict, not speaking up is even more dangerous.
Yeah. Well,
The damage that it causes later on may not be repairable.
yeah.
Yeah. So that silence that we are embracing may protect our comfort zones today, but who's to say what it's going to cause later on? And
Yes.
yeah, so that's when we discuss what we talk about on this show, we know that we're lacking when it comes to mentoring, whether
Mhm.
you're a mentee or a mentor. And we also know that we we are lacking when it comes to speaking up, to saying what is on our mind, what is
Yeah.
bothering us, what is challenging us. And because of that, we're not growing. We're trapped in a place, in a comfort place that will only lead to greater confusion down the road. So I want you to talk about that comfort zone that we're locked in.
I think there is some thought that when we talk about comfort, right, that being silent uh, breeds peace. Um, but I think what we're finding, even with this conversation, that uh, or let me say it this way, that being silent brings peace because there's less conflict. And you talked about, it's kind of being a leader and being in leadership, it's inevitable. Tension is inevitable. But I don't think peace is the absence of tension.
Mhm.
I think it is when alignment is needed or when alignment is present, right? And so I think we miss this. We missed it by thinking if I remain in my comfort zone, I'm good. You may be good, but so many things are left unsaid, ambiguous, or are
Mhm.
left uncovered or
Mhm.
misaligned. So I think in choosing not to speak and remain silent, we leave so many things undone.
Mhm. So many things undone, and so there's no healing.
No,
Healing is not taking place. If you're dying in your comfort zone, is what you're saying. You're dying in
there's
your
no
comfort.
growth, no development. Yeah.
Wow. You talk about leadership, right? And where is leadership first tested? It's not first tested in private, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's tested in your home,
Mm-hmm.
which is not exactly a private place because you have children, you have relatives, you have all kinds of people. It might not be out there in the public space, but leadership is first tested in your home, with your children, with your friends. So, what is the impact of silent leadership at home?
Oh,
Hmm?
I think silent leadership at home. So there's a major impact. Boundaries are blurred. You don't know what lines to cross, what someone's thinking, how they feel. Emotional insecurities grow.
Mm,
I think, and I'm speaking also from experience, I think resentment builds. And
mm,
then because who is in when a man was deciding to stay silent, I feel like at that point there's a transference of leadership to whomever is the loudest.
mhm.
So people start speaking or doing what they think is best because there's no direction, there's no clarity, no vision,
Mm.
because everything's blurred. And I think even in the home that happens, that so others start to assume leadership.
Yeah. And you know this the sad thing about all of that, our children are observant.
Hmm.
They study our behavior more than they study our words. So when we're avoiding the hard conversations and when when we're suppressing concerns instead of addressing them, there's a lack of direction
Hmm.
in the family. And our children, they're observant. They see these things. They see these things. When they see a man who is supposed to be a man, and we talk about accountability and responsibility as a man, that's what we talk about, last week, that the importance of being accountable and responsible, right? And when they see, our children see the leader of their home, their house, their household, avoiding accountability, avoiding speaking the truth, because when you're silent sometimes because you don't want to speak the truth, they themselves internalize that pattern. So you're passing it on to the next generation.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. Yep. I think you definitely touched on something when you talked about the children watching because they are and we touched on this briefly earlier, is that those who are watching are waiting.
Hmm.
And so whether they say it or not, or even know how to to articulate it, they're waiting. You said this on direction, on instruction, affirmation, approval, acceptance, all of these things. And I think what silence does communicate, because they view so much of themselves and life and others, all of that is shaped by home, right? Dad, mom, environment, that I
Hmm.
think being disengaged communicates you're on your own.
Hmm.
I'm here, but not really, you know. And we kind of touched on this because it's ambiguity being bred. I think anxiety comes from that too. Because now at that point, regardless of age, I'm talking about young children to adolescents to young adults, even mom, wife. Oftentimes when challenges come, they're anxious. I don't know what to do. Sometimes I can tell you, like, personally, there have been times in my life as a someone who was unfathered that sometimes I just wanted him to say, "Son, it's okay."
Hmm.
That's not a
Wow.
plan. That's not a plan. That's not instructions. That's not details. But it's him letting me know that I'm aware of what's going on, but I'm here with you, and it's okay.
And as I listen to you say that, I don't think I ever heard that myself. Never. And like we say, we're not talking about bad men here.
Yeah.
We're talking about disciplined men, but
Mm-hmm.
they just did not deliver. They just
Yeah.
did not do it. Maybe they didn't know how. I don't know what it is
Yeah.
about them. And you said it. They're here, but they're not here. So,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing we know, healthy families need presence and not just physical presence.
Yes.
There's such a thing, I'm going to put it out there, as courageous presence. That is what healthy families need. Courageous presence means that you're not afraid to have the difficult conversation. You're not going to shut down and clam up because you might upset someone by saying what is on your mind. You're
Mm.
going to speak the truth as you know it and as you believe it to be, and then deal with the consequences of speaking the truth. That is what we call courageous presence.
Courageous presence.
Yes, sir. You know, the consequences of silence do not stop at home. They extend into our communities, right? You know, when there is a leadership vacuum, when that thing exists, it is a problem. So my question then is, what happens to communities when competent, disciplined men withdraw? What happens?
I think because again, I go back to there is so much power and influence in like you said, a disciplined and competent, but just a man's voice. And so when he goes silent, and then it means there's less competent and discipline that's being showcased, right, or displayed, then I think less disciplined voices dominate.
Mm,
Again, if we think about, we were talking earlier about just the state of current affairs and current events. When we look at media and popular culture, social media, so much is being interpreted and so much is being said through the airways. And if there's not a clear, competent, and when you like you said, disciplined voice speaking, then all type of voices dominate.
mm. Man, that's powerful what you said. And what you said is what I'm going to summarize because it's so powerful. It's so powerful because when disciplined men, when they withdraw from the process, something very predictable happens. And you just said it. The loudest voices step forward, not
Mm,
always the wisest, not always the most grounded, but the
mhm.
most fit voices. And what do we need in our communities, in our family? We need men who are stable, thoughtful, and disciplined enough to participate in shaping directions for us. And when these disciplined men step back, you said it, culture is shaped by whoever is willing to step forward.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone stepping forward is prepared to lead, or we should want to lead us.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. I believe all of what you just said. I want to add to that as well, that I believe that when competent men step back, the narrative shifts to somebody else is speaking. Standards are lower.
Mm,
So many social extremes, or just extremes, gain traction, and younger men, we've been talking about mentoring, younger men lack models.
mm,
When competent men, I want to repeat that, when competent men step back,
yeah.
these things these things take precedence.
And I want to
That
be
the
very
story changes.
And I want to be very clear, Dr. Juan, we're not talking about men as if they're not capable, as if they're not confident, as if they're not disciplined. We're just talking, we're talking about men who are not courageous.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, right? Because there is going to be a leadership vacuum, and I said that earlier. So the only question is who's going to fill it, right? By whom? You know, I remember, was it last year when I said to you, a group of us on this platform, and I said, you need to get a seat at the table. You remember, you recall saying that to you?
Yes, I do.
You need to find a seat at that table. And I'm talking about that table where decisions are made, decisions about us.
Yes.
And you did something about it, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you did something about it. And you will, and I know you will continue to pursue it, because there's no ceiling for you. There's no ceiling. And I know you will continue to pursue, because in life it's all about being in pursuit.
Yes.
It is. It is. So why don't just close out this segment for me? Close out this segment for me.
You know, there's a I read this. I'll close it with this, that, you know, what we're talking about, you know, even when competent men step back, when there are voids, you know, and this vacuum left to the vacuum, social psychologists call it the bystander effect. And that's the tendency for individuals to assume anyone will intervene. And I believe that is very much so costly. And we're talking about bridging generations. I think in that way, when they step back and someone has to assume the responsibility, that it costs us generationally. I think it's generational. I really do. Because communities not only suffer from bad men harming, but from good men doing nothing.
And these are the men we're talking about right now. When
good
men go silent.
Yeah.
They're the ones we're having issue with.
I think there's a thought that being a good man is good enough.
It's good enough. Being a good, and I will submit that being a good man is seen through your behavior.
Yeah.
Right?
Your fruit.
So we need to get away from how we define behaviors. Right? And we talk about stuff like that in the growth mindset blueprint masterclass, you know, and of course that's not well, in many ways we're having that conversation right now as well. It's all about growth. But before we go to the next segment, I want to make a major announcement, and I want you to talk about it. All right, because we here at the Collision with Purpose is not just about men. We're about women as well. So I'm going to pop something on the screen, and I want you to talk about it. All right?
Look, y'all, it's, I think, the two biggest words at the top: her legacy. So it's a new show, Her Legacy: Voices of Women Who Shape Generations. This is much like, you know, Bridging Generations, Voice of Men is a powerful conversational platform, and it's dedicated to the wisdom, strength, influence of women whose voices influence generations. You know, oftentimes if we think about the structure of this country or countries and nations, a lot of times it's built on the backs and on the wisdom and the influence of women. And so this show is a platform where they get to highlight the wisdom, the experience, again, the influence of some women about their legacy and what legacy is from a female perspective. It's, of course, as you see up there, it's hosted by none other than, you know, our queen, Dr. Donna Thompson, and then we also have Dr. Lorraine J. Smith. So they'll be engaging in conversations with women from diverse backgrounds on topics that range from leadership to education, business, community advocacy, as well as faith. So you definitely don't want to miss it. It's a show here presented, of course, by the Collision with Purpose movement. So I'm excited. You all don't want to miss it. Every woman and man, it's good to hear perspectives from both sides. I will say this is a great show. Don't miss it. As you see, it's talking about wisdom, strength, and influence. But we don't all think alike. Our perspectives sometimes vary on various topics in current affairs. So we get to hear from these strong, powerful women with influence and impact.
Wow, that's big. And I should say that it's going to be aired on Wednesdays.
Yes, on Wednesdays at 7:30.
Not this Wednesday, not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after we'll be kicking it off.
Yes.
And every Wednesday night, they'll be having conversations like we're having conversations about men, bridging generation, voices of men. They'll be talking stuff about women, legacy business, things that will make a difference, things that are making a difference. So I won't miss a show, I'll tell you that much. I won't. So back to our conversation here. I mean, that was a good break. That was a powerful break, and I'm so happy that you're on to talk about it because the way you explain it, man, is so awesome. But Dr. Juan, we said it earlier. Silence is not always weakness. Sometimes it is good discipline, right?
Yes.
And that raises another important question. What is the difference between restraint and passivity? What is the difference between restraint and passivity?
Yes, restraint is strength under control. Right? But passivity is strength withheld out of fear. I think the motives are different. I think the mindset is different, when choosing to restrain or just be passive.
I love that. Restraint is controlled strength. And passivity, I will add to what you just said, is surrendered responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Surrender responsibility.
And so what happens with restraint is I will speak when it's constructive. It's control, right? Passivity, on the other hand, I will avoid speaking even when it's necessary.
Yes.
And we're talking not just men, we're talking about disciplined men. And then, so a disciplined man, so to speak, will measure his words carefully, but he does not disappear from his responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's
I think in talking about responsibility, right? I think there is a responsibility in understanding, the difference. We touched on this, the difference between the two. Because if I can share this, I think restraint asks the questions, is this the right time? Is this the right tone? Or is this necessary right now or period, right? I think that's restraint, answering those questions, right? But I think passivity asks, will this make things uncomfortable? Will this cost me relational equity? Or can I avoid this and still look good? Is there a way around this? Do we have to talk about this? Could I go and still get without having to, Can
we talk about it tomorrow?
Right? Do we have to, So I think that's the being passive is trying to find, almost in a sense, you said, surrender responsibility. I think so, because if it's surrendered, then you're aware that you hold responsibility. So I'm surrendering it. I'm choosing to not be responsible. I'm choosing to not make, and the decision is still being made. I think I want to keep reiterating that even when you choose silence, or choosing to be passive, you're still choosing.
There's no neutrality. We said that.
No.
There's no neutrality. Neutrality is not neutral. You're making it's a choice you're making.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's big news right there. That's news. If you're thinking that by not saying, not acting, not voting, you're being neutral, you're not. Someone asked the question, what do you think now that such and such is happening? And I said, I'm not surprised. And that's why I made a choice to do what I did, because this was my expectations. And of course, I don't want to go into the details of it, but you know what I'm talking about. They're saying that I stayed out of it. And I'm saying, not stay out of it. You also made a decision.
Yeah.
You're not neutral. And because your actions was as such, it influenced the outcome as well.
Yeah, that's major. What came to mind just now is just understanding our power, the power of the voice, right? And we're talking about restraint and passivity. And I think a quick example is, I know a congresswoman, not Congress, a councilwoman. And here in this district, there was a road just for some time, maybe almost a year, if that long, just potholes on this one road. So you're having to drive around, and it causes accidents. Cars have been torn up. And rather than just think that, well, that's just how it is, I figured out a way, I'm good, I reached out. Because I thought about, if this is impacting me in this way, how many others are experiencing the same thing? What must be done? I reached out. I shared my grievances, and other people. And she was just like, no, we need to hear that more. And she did share where they were in the process of taking care of it. And they didn't, at that time, it was no plans to fix it. I will say this, that not necessarily just because of mine, but the more people showed up, called in, went to the meetings, and I kid you not, Doc, it may have been from the moment I first had the conversation with her, I would say within 2 to 3 weeks, the entire road was covered.
And you spoke up, right? You refused to remain silent, right?
Yeah.
And what was the outcome?
The immediate action. Immediate, and so I think we have to understand that, going back to responsibility, that we have it is a choice. But even if you choose to be passive, you're still making a choice. You're still choosing.
It's not neutral. That's what you're saying. Neutral. There's nothing neutral.
No.
Nothing neutral about it.
And if you choose to be passive, you're choosing you over the good of others.
Early on, I said something. Was it about courageous presence?
Presence.
Right? Courageous presence. So if silence is not the answer, and it's not, what does healthy leadership actually look like? What does it look like?
I think it looks like standing up, right? Even if it costs you something. standing up, speaking up, showing up, even if it brings exposure, discomfort.
Mm.
Because even in, I believe this, even in, as a leader, I'll speak, even as a leader, I believe in my discomfort, there's still brings clarity,
Mm.
vision, truth, as you spoke earlier, truth. And you touched on this, like, I don't believe that leadership, especially competent leadership, disciplined leadership, comes without some level of discomfort.
Mm. Discomfort. Something that we naturally avoid.
Mhm.
Mhm. Something that will keep us quiet, will silence us because we don't want to live in that place of discomfort,
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
know, courageous leadership doesn't have to be loud leadership. And when we say silent, we're not talking about you have to be loud when you're speaking up. That's not what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's not what we're talking about. But what is courageous leadership? And I want to submit that having the ability to speak truth
Mm.
without humiliation, the ability to correct behavior without attacking anyone's identity, and to address problems without escalating conflict. That for me is real courageous stuff. Because we need to also understand that strong leadership is not necessarily it's not about domination. And we have
Mhm.
enough strong leaders around, right? That believes that it's about domination. It is about direction, and you said it earlier. It's about direction. So jumping on that.
Yeah, I think you said something so definitely so thought provoking. Thinking about this courageous leadership as not being, um, or even courageous presence, as you said, is not loud. And I think, and I agree with that. I don't think it needs a lot of noise and fanfare, because I don't think it's loud. I think it's anchored.
Mm,
You know, and I love how you said, you're able to. It speaks truth without humiliation. So I think courageous leadership shows up, um, in strength, but at the same time with wisdom and vision. Because I think you have to have some measure of foresight,
mm,
right? To lead courageously. I think it takes strength. I think it takes, and even being, with that foresight, it brings insight, like it brings clarity to where we are, but then you can see where it can take us, or either way it can take us, right? Because if you're standing there, right, if we don't do, I can see where it could take us. If we do, I can show you where it would take us. And so I think it definitely is courageous leadership, courageous presence brings, should bring foresight.
absolutely. Absolutely. Do we have enough of that around us, courageous leaders? Or is it
I
that
think we
we,
can stand to have more.
because what we see all around us are leaders who are attacking identity,
Hmm.
are humiliating people, and who are escalating conflict. Is That's what we see, right? We see that a
Yes.
lot happening around
Yes.
us. So I should also say that a man who's willing to say difficult things with dignity and clarity that's the kind of man we need to be. Or we must say the difficult things, and we must add a level of clarity, but we must also apply dignity.
Hmm.
Because a courageous presence is not a man who must have control. It's more about stability.
Yes.
Yeah, and I will say that stability is what we need in our families, our communities, and most importantly, the next generation.
Yes, it's generational. It is definitely generational. You know, I think courageous presence, and I love that term, and courageous leadership. I think I believe what it also exemplifies as well as teaches. When we talk about generations, it teaches how to show up again when things are uncomfortable, right? It shows you what stick to itness looks like,
Mm,
you know, perseverance and resilience, you know. I think in it because it says to everyone that I will not disappear when things get comfortable. So
mm.
there's the stability that even when it got a little rough, you stayed, you spoke up, you brought the balance.
Yeah, you still have me on your team.
Yes,
Jumping off.
yes,
I'm not getting off the show because things are rocky, things are not working. I'm going to
yeah,
stay here with you and rebuild it.
yeah,
And that is about direction. That is the direction we're talking about. And that is the responsibility and the accountability that we need as men. And that is why we have this platform, Bridging Generation Voices of Men. And let me add, in a changing world, because we are living in a changing world, changing by the second.
I think that, you know, and the saying is that change is the only thing constant.
Hmm.
Change, and it's inevitable, you know. And the show says it all. I just thought about that, you know, what you just said. In a vastly changing world, the voices of men
Mhm.
is what helps bridge generations,
That's it.
right? Because what one generation knew or knows has to be passed on to other generations.
And you just unwrapped it, man. You just did. You just unwrapped it. That's exactly what it is, right? That's exactly what it is. And that's the essence of this thing and why we're here. Because I know that it's not about us.
Mm-mm.
It's not about those who came before us. It's about those who we're gonna hand this thing off to. This thing that we call life. Well, this thing that we're building.
Yeah.
It's about them. But Dr. Juan, I'm looking at the clock and guess what? We got 3 minutes. It moves so fast again.
It does. It does.
It moves so fast. And I know we promised that we're gonna keep this and do this in a 1 hour thing. It's gonna be 1 hour. So let me say this and then you as always will close, right? I just want to say that tonight's conversation, just like last week, as it's not about criticism. We're not criticizing men. In fact, we made it very clear that we're talking about the disciplined, competent men. So we are giving credit. We're attributing credit to where it is deserved and earned. What we're talking about is about responsibility and accountability. And we believe here at the Collision with Purpose that every generation inherits a moment where silence becomes easier than leadership. But in saying that, I also want to say that silence does not build stability.
Mm.
Courageous courage does, courageous presence does. And that the future of our families, our communities, and our nations depending on where you're from, will not be determined only by the loudest voices. It will also be shaped by the quiet decisions of disciplined men who making the decision to speak, the decision to intervene, the decision to lead with wisdom rather than withdraw in comfort and become silence. And I say that because the next generation is watching. They are watching us. And not just what we say, but what we tolerate, what we accept without standing up, right? So strong communities require courageous men. And courageous men do not disappear when leadership is needed. They show up, they speak with clarity, and they lead with responsibility. And that is what I have to say. And I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Juan.
That was powerful, Doc. I want to leave with this. We talked about when good men go silent, and that there's a hidden cost of passive leadership. Something I want to highlight: that silence is not harmless. Although it may feel harmless, it feels mature, it feels controlled. But over time, silence becomes a slow leak in the structure of a man's influence. And here's the part we don't talk about enough. Most men who go silent aren't bad men. They may be tired men. They may be disappointed men. They may be unhealed men, men who once spoke up and paid for it. So they've learned to retreat instead of engage. But I want to add that your withdrawal doesn't just protect you, it shapes the environment around you. And I want to say it again, that it doesn't just protect you. Withdrawing doesn't just protect you. It shapes the environment around you. Your community feels it, your spouse, your home, your children, generations. And I want to end with this quote. Psychologist Albert Bandura, he said this. He said that the price of apathy toward public affairs is to be ruled by evil men, which essentially means when good, capable, morally grounded people, men, disengage from responsibility, leadership does not disappear. It defaults to whoever is willing to take it. And that's dangerous. So we don't need louder men. We need anchored men. Men who can sit in tension without exploding. Men who can speak truth without humiliating. Doc touched on this. Men who can correct without crushing. Men who can stay. Because when good men stay present, families stabilize, communities recalibrate, children breathe easier. So this is not about condemnation. As Doc always says, this is more of an invitation. To the men watching and listening, your voice carries weight. Your presence still matters. Your leadership is still needed. And the next generation is listening even when you're not speaking. So as always, I'll leave you with that thought. Will they inherit your courage or your caution? As always, we appreciate you tuning in, listening, watching. Remember to like, follow, share, and comment because we do read them. And same time, same place, same day next week, Thursday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We will see you. Thank you.
This is not just a show. This is a shift. A reset of how men think, how men heal, and how men lead. Before behavior, there is belief. Before legacy, there is mindset. And before change reaches generations, it must first reach the mind. This is bridging generations. Yeah. We were raised on survival, not reflection. Taught strength, but not emotional protection.